With any whatever story, imagine. I'm sick. I don't feel good. I need this, and that's what it was.
Drugs were nothing new to Michael. He'd been addicted to painkillers for 20 years. It all began with the filming of a Pepsi ad in 1984. A stage light exploded over him, causing third-degree burns.
We did not have to use skin grafts nor hair transplants, and hopefully this will provide Michael with a normal, natural head of hair.
Jackson began taking painkillers to deal with the prolonged agony he was in, and soon became addicted. It was the worst-kept secret in Hollywood, but no one knew the scale or the intensity of his drug taking until his body lay on a mortuary slab 2 weeks ago. I met Dr. Drew Pinsky, who treats some of Hollywood's richest and most famous drug addicts, and asked him about the cocktail of pills and injections that Michael Jackson was said to be on. Dr. Pinsky, could you tell me in lay terms what kind of drugs Michael Jackson was alleged to have been taking?
He's supposed to have been taking opiate pain medication like Vicodin, Lortab, codeine, those sorts of medications, and maybe even some injectable opioids like Demerol, morphine. The longer-acting oral opiates like OxyContin have been suggested as well. The benzodiazepine medication, which is Valium and Xanax, Klonopin, drugs like that, as well as hypnotics, in which case Diprovan came up recently as something that was found on his house, and that's a very strange medication for somebody to have in their home. I must tell you that in my world, I treat drug addicts all the time. The combination of opiates, opioids, and benzodiazepines is routine. Not to say that it's not dangerous, it is, but they seem to find their way to those almost without exception. The only bizarre and really, frankly, outlandish medication that I've heard of Michael Jackson using is this Diprovan, which is just, I mean, you can't even imagine how outlandish that is to me.
Tell me about Diprovan.
Diprovan is a medication we use in intensive care units to keep ventilator patients unconscious, like if you're on a breathing machine. It's used for induction of anesthesia. It's an intravenous medication, requires intensive monitoring. The idea of someone using that outside of the hospital to me is just outlandish.
How, if he was so medicated, could he have even stood on a stage?
It's almost comical to me that people ask that question. I mean, rock and rollers have been doing it forever. They, in fact, get intoxicated because they think it improves their performance. My patients that are in the music industry, which I have many, they're loaded right now in performing. And they may take a little more when they get off. They may take a little less before they go on, or more. You can't tell. These opiates and benzos, they have a high degree of tolerance. And so you don't seem sedated when you're taking them, but you can be really intoxicated.
So how was Jackson getting his hands on these drugs? On one level, Hollywood is about glitz and glamour, but it's also built on a secret industry of Dr. Feelgoods, Twilight characters helping celebrity addicts get their fix.
Dr. Feelgoods are nothing new to this community. They've been here since there's been a Hollywood, and they will be here as long as there is a Hollywood. When you've got money, you've got access. So this town, drugs run rampant.
There are those who blame the people around Jackson. They say in his last days there were two groups of insiders around him. The good guys, the family and the management, the people trying to get him off drugs, and the bad guys who didn't try to stop his addiction.
You can't fault Michael. He's a drug addict. What he gonna do? He's a drug addict. He want more pills or whatever, and you steady giving it to him. Who is to blame now? To me, somebody should have stepped in and said, yo, look here, MJ, you don't need that.
So why does no one step in?
Money.
Behind the gates of his mansion, Jackson was wrapping himself in a cocoon of prescription drugs. Everyone in Hollywood blamed the Dr. Feelgoods, the people supplying him. But the truth was that Jackson was no innocent bystander to his addiction. He was the instigator. At this pharmacy in Beverly Hills, Mickey Fines, famous for its celebrity clients, Jackson ran up a bill of $100,000 in 1 year. Would you class him as a drug addict?
He has to be.
Can I just ask you about these rumours that he was taking heroin, that his body had track marks?
I think...
Does any of that sound plausible to you?
Heroin does not sound right to me at all. Even my heroin addicts would rather go to what he was taking, what he was alleged to have taken. So there was sort of no reason for him to use heroin. He had pharmaceutical medications, were exceedingly powerful and do the same thing. What I do anticipate is you're going to find scarring throughout his buttock and hips, just like Anna Nicole Smith, from years and years of injection sites. And it ends up being a woody scar throughout the hip and buttock region.
Jackson was surrounded by drug enablers, but there were also insiders trying to take the drugs away. As the London shows approached and the hype and ticket sales went through the roof, in private, a struggle was going on for Jackson's body.
I know his father, Joe, was fighting to get him some help. Right. And this is something I know for a fact.
They were trying to get help?
They were trying to get Michael some help. They knew Michael couldn't do the 50 shows. They knew he had a habit, and they honestly wanted to get him some help. They can say whatever they want to say about Joe Jackson, but Joe Jackson loved his son.
So why didn't they give him any help then? You said they wanted to give him help. How come they couldn't?
They would change his number, man, and it'd be a weeks before they give it to the mother. I know that for a fact.
So what you're saying is the people around Michael were stopping the family from getting to Michael? The Jackson camp and the Jackson family were said to be in favour of an intervention to cold turkey Jackson, the so-called enablers and hangers-on, allowing Jackson's drug addiction to continue. So what happened when you tried to intervene? What happened when you tried to talk to everyone about the situation with Michael?
They thought I was out of my damn mind. And it put me in the house. I couldn't get in the house.
They wouldn't let you in the house?
No, I couldn't get in the house. I couldn't get in the house.
In spite of the turmoil behind the scenes, the juggernaut of the shows rolled on. On May the 20th, AEG went to great efforts to explain their reasons for the delay and denied rumours it was due to ill health.
Good morning from Los Angeles. I'm Kenny Ortega, Michael Jackson's creative partner in directing and creating the show.
And I'm Randy Phillips, the CEO of AEG Live.
This was on YouTube. It was something they recorded on a Michael Jackson fan site, MJJC, explaining why the concerts have been put back.
We have a massive production that is in the process of being built and developed and rehearsed. And, the original plan would have put us into the O2 for one night before we opened to the world. And as I became involved and heard what was, going on in Michael's mind and heart and what he wanted this to be, it just wasn't practical.
The arena is incredibly busy. We couldn't move Madonna, James Taylor, any shows to make room for our pre-production rehearsals.
Madonna was to blame for the fact they couldn't get to the O2 and they had to delay the first gigs.
We want to open with confidence and securely, and with integrity.
Nothing to do with Michael being ill. No sign that he's ill. He's in great shape.
When they moved the dates back, what happened in London? People panicked. Right or wrong. So if they said any inquiries they was having problems, it would create a panic. Because you got 1 million people or 850,000 people done bought tickets. So they didn't want to create the panic because they didn't have no solution to the answers for the panic. Regardless if the house is falling down, they got to be positive about it. It's going to stand.
What is the latest on Michael's health?
I would trade my body for his tomorrow. He's in fantastic shape. And, words are cheap, and I've refuted all the crazy stories. He's not sleeping with elephants. He's not dying of skin cancer. Every day there's another story. I've never seen anything like that. He's a magnet for these weird stories that people make up. Okay, but as far as really talking about his health, his director can answer that question better than I can.
No, I just say that physically and mentally, I mean, we're having a blast. We really are. We're having a great time. This is